them from the beginning, made them male and female, and said, "For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one, so that they are no longer two, but one. What therefore God has joined together, let not man put asunder."
Of course, we could spend not a session on this. Books have been written on this. Legal statutes have been written on this. Novels have been written on this. Poems without end have been written on this subject. Not to mention some pornography and other types of dealing with it. But Jesus, when they ask him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife? The answer of Jesus is that God is the author of sexuality. Whatever may be the problems that have arisen in the area of the relationships of men and women, if there are problems, they are due to man's abuse, misuse, misconception of the purposes that God intended. But sex itself, the difference between men and women, is ordained of God, is God's plan for the perpetuation of the human race, and has God's approval. But just as God, as the author, has the right to make the regulations for what he makes, he has the right to make the regulations for marriage. And we have no right to legislate for that which we ourselves did not create. Jesus said that because of the complementary relationship between men and women, that a man shall leave his father and his mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall be one. And I'm sure the inference is here that she should leave her father and mother too. A great many of our problems in marriage have come because this maternal, paternal, umbilical social cord was not cut. I have one person in my acquaintance who told me about her daughter phoning her up after a couple years of marriage at about 10 o'clock at night. And she said to her mother, "I'm coming home." Her mother said, "Well, you are home." "No," she said, "I mean, I'm coming where you are." Her mother said to her, "This is not your home. You're married. Your home is where you are." "No," the girl said, "I guess I can come home if I want to." Her mother said, "You cannot." And the girl slammed the receiver down on the phone, and in a rage, her mother went to bed. About 2 o'clock in the morning, phone rang again. Mother reached out of bed, stand alongside the nightstand, takes the receiver. "Thank you, Mother. We've got it settled." Now, if her mother allowed her to come back home, that would not have been settled. Her mother understood that when you get married, you get married. That's it. And you're going to see it through. And as we said at the very close of the last session, that marriage is one imperfect person finding another imperfect person who will put up with their faults and their weaknesses, and with whose faults they will put up. They're going to pool their imperfections and maybe help each other out in solving their problems. That's what marriage becomes. And anybody who has been married a length of time knows that this is a matter of accommodation of one imperfect person with another. And I'm not really sure this is a place, but I will repeat the story of this couple that were celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary. And my parents lived together 65 years and 7 days before my father passed away. And at the 60th wedding anniversary, the newsmen said to her, "Did you always get along?" "Oh, no," she said, "we're ordinary people. We had our problems." And he pressed and said, "Did you ever consider divorce?" "No," she said. "Our family is totally opposed to divorce." But there wasn't a period, there was a comma. She said, I considered murder a couple times. Now, there are going to be problems, see? But Jesus said that this attraction of a man for his wife is strong enough that it will break the previously normal relationship which bound him to his parents, and it's bound his wife to her parents. And these two, then, are to cut off this family connection and to set up their own home. And probably there's nothing more important than understanding this. When I do marriage counseling, we deal with three areas. The first one is finance, which I'll not discuss here at the moment. And the second one has to do with family, the third with church. But let's just take a moment as a matter of family. One of the things I insist upon is that they realize that they are not marrying one person. They're marrying an entire family. Whether they like it or not, the moment they're married, they've already decided the contents of their family photo albums, the family gathering pictures. They've picked the grandparents of their children, the uncles of their children, the aunts of their children, and the cousins of their children. And I have said to them many times, I said, now you must remember that the family that you are marrying into, they're the ones who are going to be with you for Thanksgiving, and you'll be at their place for Christmas. And are you, look that brother-in-law, prospective brother-in-law over again, are you dead sure this is the fellow who you want in your bed, in your guest room, and in your refrigerator at 12 o'clock at midnight? That's what it means to get married, see? And we should understand this. You may leave your father and your mother, but they come back now and then for visits anyway. And God said, what God has joined together, let not man put asunder. And we have folks who try to take refuge in their excuse for divorce and say, well, God never put this marriage together. Easy now. When Jesus talked with a woman at the well of Samaria, he recognized the civil responsibilities of marriage, and he said, you have been married 5 times, and the man thou now hast is not your husband. And Jesus recognized the difference between a legally observed union and a common law union. You can't have regularity in society unless there is some systematic observance of customs so we know what the relationships are of people. And this is why we have the government having laws regarding marriage and divorce. If you go at the average state statutes of laws, there'll be long pages on property settlements, on inheritances, on responsibilities to spouses, on responsibilities to children, and what will happen in case of a divorce, and in case of alimony, and so on. And I have thought sometimes, I don't suppose you can ever get these kids to read that stuff, but it would be a wise thing to take those 13 or 14 pages on the responsibilities of marriage, property settlements, child care, alimony, divorce, and the whole bit, and make it required reading for everybody before they went out on their first date. It might bring some sense into the picture. I think that one of the problems that we have is that we have no idea of what the ramifications are, and we leap into marriage with almost no knowledge of this. I don't think you have to carry it as far as one of my friends. I don't suppose on the West Coast you'll ever see this. But this fellow was dating this girl. They later became missionaries and now pastors. But at 5 o'clock one morning, he showed up at his prospective father-in-law's home and rang the doorbell, and his father-in-law to-be got out of bed, came down to the door in his night clothes and said to his prospective son-in-law, "What do you want at this hour of the morning?" He said, "I want to see," and he named the girl. And he didn't tell his father-in-law what he wanted, and so he called her, and she got out of bed and put on a robe, came down with her curlers in the hair, and she said, "What do you want at 5 o'clock in the morning?" "Well," he said, "we're going to be married," he said, "and I've always seen you dressed up. If we're going to live together the rest of our lives, I want to see what you were like at 5 o'clock in the morning." That was the only purpose.